Morning, everyone. I'm Eric, the Undertaker. I'm a licensed mortician, just coming on to answer any questions you have regarding death, dying, your own grief journey, or anything you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Come on in and join for a few minutes.
Welcome to the porch where the heart can rest, where the broken find solace and the weary feel blessed. We've all got our stories and the night's still young. So pull up a chair, porch talk's begun. Yeah, pull up a chair, porch talk's begun.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric, the Undertaker. Honored to be here with you today, just coming on to answer any questions you might have regarding death, dying, the funeral industry, about funerals, cremation, burial, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Also a certified grief coach, so honored to answer any questions as you journey on your own grief journey. We come in here to build a community and for people to love and support one another on their journey. This is specific to a happy Sunday morning, just sharing a cup of coffee, coming on in to answer any questions you might have. Good morning. Licensed mortician coming on just on a Sunday morning, sharing a cup of coffee, answering any questions you might have regarding death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Good morning, everyone. Welcome in. Just coming on to answer any questions you might have this morning. I'm Eric, the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, have been for over 27 years. And along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes, and I get to come on both here and on TikTok and share about my experiences with you and the life lessons that they've taught me. Both life lessons regarding grief and just how to live life in general. Also get to talk about your own grief journey that you may be on now, may be recent, especially coming out of the holidays, or a grief journey that you've been carrying with you for many, many years. Hi, Joey. Welcome in. We talk about grief specific to the individual, carrying it throughout life. We also talk about any questions you might have regarding the funeral industry, just trying to demystify that as well. Take away the anxiety and fear of death. Hi, Jaylene. Welcome in. Honored to answer any questions you might have regarding the funeral industry, what it's like being a mortician, or anything you would like to talk about on your own grief journey as a certified grief coach. Appreciate everybody joining me this morning. If you don't follow me, subscribe to me already, you're welcome to do so. I'm also on TikTok, Eric the Undertaker as well. Just sharing a cup of coffee this morning. Of course, absolutely. Shout out to your cousin, Nick. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Eric, the Undertaker. I'm a licensed mortician, certified grief coach. I've been for over 27 years, and both here and on TikTok, I get to come and share about my experiences, lessons I've learned from the deceased I've worked with, the families I've cared for, the funerals I've directed, and mostly just about the lessons that I've learned from them, both grief-related and life-related. I'm honored to do that with both my recorded content and then coming on live, which we just started, to answer any questions that you might have regarding your own grief journey, death, dying, or just anything that you've ever been curious about asking a mortician. Maybe something you would ask at a cocktail party, but Sharing a cup of coffee, just coming on to see who's on this morning, answer any questions you might have. If you don't subscribe or follow already, I encourage you to do so. Hey, Jaden, welcome in this morning. Happy Sunday. I'm just talking about the funeral industry, about questions you might have regarding death, dying, or your own grief experience, especially just coming out of the holidays. Hi ho, hi hi. Welcome in. Appreciate you joining this morning. YouTube's fairly new to me. We've been on TikTok for a little over a year, do both live and recorded content here, and getting to share that on YouTube is an incredible honor as well. So, any questions you might have regarding your own grief journey or regarding death, dying, or just any questions you've ever been curious to ask regarding the funeral industry or about what it's like to be a mortician, honored to answer those as well. Just sharing a cup of coffee this morning and answering any questions you might have. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, my name is Eric. I'm a licensed mortician, have been for over 27 years. Along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes, and I get to come both on here and TikTok and share about our experiences, lessons we've learned from caring for the deceased, the families that they leave behind, anything about your grief journey that you would like to ask or share. We're here to build a supportive community as well, or just anything you've ever been curious and wanted to ask a mortician. YouTube is fairly new to us. We've been on TikTok for a little over a year now, just over a year, where we have the majority of our followers, but we're expanding over to YouTube as well because many people want to be able to share our content there. You can check out either here on YouTube or on TikTok our recorded content. We also have playlists regarding our porch talk. Most of the time we're out on the porch doing our content, but right now it's a little too cold and rainy, so we're off the porch. But honored to answer any questions you might have. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you stopping by. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. I've been for over 27 years. Come on here just to answer any questions you might have regarding death, dying, your own grief journey, or just anything you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Rock and Rob, welcome in. Yeah, honored to answer any questions you might have. Good morning, everyone. Good morning here on the West Coast, at least. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years. And along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes. And honored to be able to come on here and TikTok, be able to share about our experiences, life lessons and grief lessons we've learned from the deceased and family we've cared for, as well as the funerals we've directed. A lot of our recorded content is specific to that, which you can find on TikTok and now here on YouTube as well. On the lives, we just come in, answer questions you might have regarding your own grief journey or regarding death, dying, or anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that today. Welcome. Welcome in. Hey everyone, I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, have been for over 27 years, and here and on TikTok, honored to come in, answer any questions you might have regarding death, dying, or anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to answer those questions this morning as you can share a cup of coffee with me. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome in. I'm Eric the Undertaker, just answering any questions you might have or anything you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Good morning, everyone. Come on in, have a seat, pour yourself a cup of coffee. Let's talk about death, dying, your own grief process, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. I'm Eric the Undertaker, licensed funeral director and embalmer for over 27 years, and I'm here this morning to answer those questions that you might have. No question is off the table. Rockin' Rob says, I'm curious what measures you take to keep yourself safe from chemicals. I worked with a woman in my past, that was 5th generation funeral care provider, and she had a lot of neurological damage. That's a great question. And a couple of different ways. You're specifically talking about the formaldehyde-based chemicals that we use during the embalming process. We have great ventilation within the embalming lab, and we use respirator masks when at all possible. That's specifically to keep us safe, from the chemicals. Some of the chemicals are carcinogens, as well as can do damage, to the respiratory system. So we do take precautions at all times to do that. Thanks for the question, though. And I don't know if the neurological conditions that she had, were specific, to, her profession or not. It's probably hard to tell, but certainly could do damage, especially in the respiratory system, and we have to be careful and cautious. Hey, Jaden, welcome in. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years, and along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes. And we get to come on here and on TikTok as Eric the Undertaker and share about those experiences in caring for the deceased, the family they leave behind, funerals to redirected, and the life lessons that they've taught us, lessons that have helped us learn about grief and about how to live life in general. So we're honored to come on here and share those. Absolutely, Rockin' Robin, always honored to answer any questions you might have. Thanks for chopping in. Honored to answer any questions you might have this morning regarding death, dying, maybe your own grief process, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. So normally when it's warm enough and the wet weather doesn't keep us away, we're out on the porch answering these questions. We call our content Porch Talk. A lot of the recorded content is done out there, and oftentimes we do our lives from out there. But right now it's a little too wet and cold, so we're off the porch. But I'm just honored to come in the morning and answer any questions you might have. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee if you haven't had enough already, and let's talk about death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to answer any of those questions today. If you don't already subscribe to the channel, I encourage you to do that, of course. You can also find us on TikTok, Eric the Undertaker. That's where we started out. The majority of our followers are, but we are crossing over to YouTube as well to be able to share our content and our community here as well. So we are honored and grateful to be here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer and certified grief coach. I've been for over 27 years. And on TikTok and on YouTube, I'm known as Eric the Undertaker. Get to come on and share about my experiences, lessons I've learned from the people we've cared for, the families we cared for, and the funerals we've directed. And I come on here and answer any questions you might have regarding death, dying, the funeral industry, or your own grief process, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that. So please come on in, ask any questions you might have, and share a cup of coffee this morning. Welcome in, everyone. Any questions you might have regarding death, dying, or the funeral industry, I'm honored to answer this morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, have been for over 27 years. And I am grateful to be able to come on YouTube as well as TikTok, which was our original home, and talk about death, dying, the funeral industry, your grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. And that's what I'm doing this morning, just sharing a cup of coffee with you, answering any questions that you might have. So come on in, pour yourself a cup of coffee if you haven't had enough already, and let's talk about anything that you've ever wanted to know or to ask a mortician. Welcome. Normally we're outside on the porch, but it's a little too wet and cold right now. So when that happens, we come off the porch and come on in and talk about those subjects here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker, licensed funeral director and embalmer. I've been for over 27 years, and along with my wife and my family, we own several funeral homes. And I get to come on here and talk about death, dying, your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. So honored to answer those questions. If you have them this morning, come on in, pull up a chair, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and let's talk about death and dying. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Hope everybody had an incredible holiday season. Only thing about the holidays is oftentimes people carry grief into the holidays, whether it's from a recent death or from years in past. It can be a very difficult time for people. And one of the things that we've tried to do during the holidays is to be a source for support for those that are navigating grief during really from Thanksgiving on. Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, all the holidays through Christmas and New Year's can be very difficult and be very heavy. Oftentimes people are missing somebody at the table. Oftentimes people are missing somebody in the traditions they used to share with them, and just gathering family together, which is what we often do during the holidays. There's a void. There's somebody missing. And we want to be a support for that. If that was you this year, or you know somebody and we can help you with that, even though we're through the holidays, just because the calendar changes doesn't mean that grief is still not carried. And one of the things that we like to do is to be able to be a support as a community, both here and on TikTok, offering a support with people that are carrying parallel grief journeys, meaning maybe it's people that have lost parents or lost a child or lost a spouse or a sibling or even a friend, and they can understand each other. And we were trying to build a community where people can come together and support one another and understand one another based on their parallel grief journey. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, have been for over 27 years. And here and on TikTok, I'm known as Eric the Undertaker, and I get to come on and share about my experiences and the lessons I've learned from the people we've cared for, the families we've cared for, the funerals we've directed, and the lessons that I've learned from those experiences. Lessons not only on grief, but just life and how to live life, what the dead has taught me. And I get to come on here and share those experiences via the Porch Talk series that we do, as well as the lives where we come on and talk about death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that as well. So if you're joining me this morning, thank you for doing that. Pour yourself a cup of coffee if you're still drinking coffee. Let's talk about those things or any questions you might have regarding those subjects. Honored to answer any of those questions that you might have. Whatever the case is, thanks for joining this morning. I greatly appreciate your support. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. I've been for over 27 years. And along with my wife and my family, we own several funeral homes. And on TikTok and on YouTube, I am incredibly honored to be able to come on here and talk about death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just to answer any questions you might have to ask a mortician. I think the more that we talk about death and dying and things about my profession, the less anxiety and fear of death people have. And that's one of the main goals that we want, in addition to forming a community that people can join to love and support one another on their own grief journey, which is another major priority for us in doing this. We started out on TikTok, and just in the recent couple of months have ventured over to YouTube as well, making our content easier to share for people that may not be on the other platforms. So the more platforms we are, the easier it is to share the information. But this morning, just coming on, sharing a cup of coffee with you, seeing if there's any questions I can answer for you specifically regarding your own grief journey, questions you have regarding death, dying, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that this morning. So whatever your reason is for being here, and you stopped your scroll for a little bit, thank you. I'm grateful for that. But I'm honored to answer any questions you might have. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years. Own several funeral homes along with my wife and family. And here on YouTube and TikTok, I'm known as Eric the Undertaker. I get to come on here and talk about death, dying, your own grief process, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that this morning. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we can answer them for you. If you're you're just coming by just to say hello or to see other people, what they have to say, that's completely fine as well. Whatever brings you here, we're honored to have you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years, and along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes. And on YouTube and TikTok, I am known as Eric the Undertaker. I get to come on and share my experiences from caring for the deceased, their families, and directing the funerals. Those experiences that have taught me lessons on grief and on life and how to live life. And I get to share those with you in our Porch Talk series, as well as coming on live and answering any questions you might have regarding death, dying, your own grief process, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Honored to do that. So if you're with us this morning, happy Sunday to you. Hope your holidays were amazing. Pour another cup of coffee if you wish. Sit down and let's talk a little bit. Good morning, Kim and Kate. Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much. I'm honored to answer any questions you might have. Questions regarding death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. So honored to do that here and on TikTok. So whatever is the best platform for you, we try to make it accessible, the information accessible. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years. And along with my wife and family, we own several funeral homes. And on TikTok and on YouTube, I get to come on here and share about those experiences. The lessons I've learned from caring for the dead, their families, directing the funerals, and what the lessons have taught me about grief and life in general. Kate asked, my husband worked for a cemetery for 26 years and just left in May. It's a tough job. Yeah, absolutely, Kate. It can be an incredibly taxing job. We work with a lot of different cemeteries, and I always admire, their diligence and the care that they provide. Long after we leave the cemetery, their work just begins as far as caring for the grave, doing what they have to do to properly put that person to rest. So thank you so much for what he did. I greatly appreciate that. So we moved on to something else that he's enjoying just as much. He was operations manager, but did just about everything there. Lots and lots of cremations. Yeah, cremations definitely increased, but that's okay too. Whatever the family and the individuals want, ultimately I just tell them whether it's cremation or burial, ultimately the result is going to be the same. One just takes months to years. One takes 2 to 3 hours generally. Thanks so much though for sharing that information, and once again, thanks for all the work that your husband did. So don't know if he moved on to something else or if he retired and you get to see more of him at home. It's amazing how life, will take us different directions at different stages of our life. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. Have been for over 27 years. And along with my wife and my family, we own several funeral homes. And both here on YouTube and on TikTok, I am honored to come and share about our experiences at the funeral home, people we've cared for, the journeys that they made to get there, the families we've cared for them, as well, the funerals we've directed and the lessons we've learned from that. We share that information via our Porch Talk series. Different field, he said, left private for public sector, and he's now in a public works team. That's great. And as long as it benefits him and your family, that's the most important thing. We're located on the West Coast in California. Kate, where are you located? Welcome in, everyone. Honored to answer any questions you might have or you've ever been afraid to ask a mortician, or maybe regarding death, dying in general, or just your own grief journey. All right, San Francisco Bay Area. We're in California as well, so very familiar with the area. You're getting plenty of rain in that area as well, so, which we need. Just comes in waves, I guess. We don't own cemeteries. We have funeral homes. We have 3 funeral homes, and actually we're in contract to buy an additional one. But still very much of a family-owned, small family-owned feel still. It's just my family and some incredible staff, that none of which have been with us less than 10 years to support us. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. New to YouTube, we've been on TikTok for over a year. You can find us on TikTok at Eric the Undertaker as well, where we do recorded content as well as lives. We're doing another live this evening, 4 p.m. Western Time, Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Our YouTube just for a few months, okay, just started it about 3 months ago. We've been on TikTok, have almost 55,000 followers on TikTok. So just kind of venturing over to YouTube. I'm adding it as an additional platform. So a lot of people want to be able to share the information and content on YouTube as well. But you can follow us on TikTok as well, at Eric the Undertaker. Our next scheduled live will be there this evening at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. He gave up TikTok, which is why we're on YouTube now too, because TikTok's not for everyone. We're trying to change the information, though. There's a lot of variety on TikTok, no doubt about it, but we're trying to create a source of good, valuable information there. And that's where we started. Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate you subscribing. That's an incredible honor. So be able to follow along. We really appreciate the support, Kate. I'm glad you were notified today that I was live. Haven't done a whole lot of lives yet on YouTube. So it's different to navigate, but enjoying learning it. And it amazes me the kind of the differences in the different platforms. So, but it's fun. Enjoy it. And the connections, I make, with so many different people and different creators has been a pleasure as well. But it's good to hear that you found us just on YouTube and you didn't come over from TikTok. So that's why we're here, as I said. Yeah, kids, I'll never get used to being able caring for kids, young people that pass away, not only when the kids pass away themselves, The other thing that's very difficult for me to handle is when kids have to navigate the loss of a young parent. It's very, trying to navigate the hurt of losing a young parent, their mom or dad, extreme circumstances, both of them, and seeing the kids have to navigate that is incredibly hard for me as a parent myself. Makes me come home and hold my own kids that much harder and closer. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Eric the Undertaker. Fairly new to YouTube. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, have been on TikTok for over a year and coming over to YouTube now, coming over to share my experiences, the people I've cared for, the families they left behind, and the funerals I've directed. And I'm honored to share with you the lessons I've learned from those experiences. Lessons not only on grief, but just how to live life. Much of what I've learned about how to live life, I've learned from the dead, and I get to share that with you. Here today to answer any questions you might have regarding any of that, or death, dying, maybe your own grief journey, or just anything that you've ever wanted to ask a mortician. Kate asked, what made you get started in this field? Great question. So when I was about 12 years old, I went to one of my first funerals, which happened to be one of my grandfathers that passed away. And really the spark of interest started then. I was just enamored by the whole experience and what they did for my family. I'll never forget walking into the funeral home with my dad, seeing my grandfather for the first time during the viewing. And that interest just really never went away. I continued to research it in high school and doing some reading, different books, and then went on to college, got my bachelor's in business, and then approaching the end of that stage of my life and was looking at different options and started exploring Mortuary Science College again. Took about a year off and went to work for a funeral home, actually lived at the funeral home, which was actually in the Bay Area. And then I, about 3 to 4 months into that, decided I wanted to go to Mortuary College, continued my year there, and then went on to Mortuary Science College after that. So here I am, over 25 years later, and couldn't imagine anything better fit for me personally. So all right. Well, I am going to wrap it up for this morning. Absolutely, Kate. Thanks so much for joining me this morning with your questions. I greatly appreciate that. We will be back on later, but on the TikTok side. We may stream on YouTube at the same time. We've done that a couple of times. Just takes a little bit more effort, which we're honored to do. So we may do that later this afternoon at 4 p.m. We can click on the YouTube as well. Thanks so much. I appreciate that, Kate, and to yours as well. And best of luck to your husband on his new journey into what he's doing. So we always have a song we play on the TikTok side to finish off our lives, and we'll continue that tradition here as well. As we say goodbye to you. Any of you that joined us today, thanks so much. Greatly appreciate. Hope you have an incredible Sunday, the rest of your weekend, as we kind of finish up the holiday season and get back to focusing on the new year.
The tears may fall, but they don't stay long. They water the roots that make us strong. The night still hums that same old tune, a song of love beneath the moon. So light that lamp, let the shadows part. There's grace still waiting in every heart. Though the sorrow lingers, we're not alone. We find our peace here before we go home.
Everybody have a great day. Take care.